It's time for another Dice Tower review with Z. Garcia.
Hey everybody, today I'm taking a look at a party game called When I Dream, in which one player each round is going to be blindfolded and the other players will describe or say a word to that person in turn order, trying to get them to guess another word, or maybe to guess it wrong. Let me show you what I'm talking about here, then we'll come back and I'll tell you if I think that this is a fun party game. Here we go. The game's going to be played over a predetermined number of rounds, at the end of which whoever has the most of these victory points is the winner of the whole thing. And to set up, we are going to grab a certain number of these character cards, the rolls, and we are going to shuffle them up, pick a star player who's going to be the first one, who is the dreamer, that's going to rotate around the table, okay? They get the handy-dandy blindfold here. They'll put that on. We shuffle up the cards. In this case, let's say we're playing with 6 players. There would be 3 fairy characters, 2 imps, and 1 trickster. So the rest can be removed, which I have done here. These are the rest. And then we're going to set out these 2 cards for dreams that are correctly guessed and incorrectly guessed. Okay, the words. And so we're going to shuffle these up, and then everybody gets one, except for the player who is the dreamer. So the leftover card just gets placed face down somewhere on the table, and the rest are passed out to everybody. And then you're going to get 2 minutes to flip over cards, the other players, and then give clues to the dreamer until they guess. And then you draw another card and continue going until your time is up. However, depending on your spirit card here, your roll, it dictates whether you should be giving good clues or maybe not so good clues, all right? So, for example, let's say we have dealt here, just for the sake of the example, we're going to have a fairy right here, an imp in the middle, and then a trickster at the end. Okay? Obviously, as I said, there's more characters, but don't worry about that now. So we flip one. You decide if you're playing with the tops of the cards or the bottoms of the cards. So we'll say tops for now. You flip over a card. It has 2 words, as you can see. Boar or cloud at the bottom. And then some really strange drawing, typically. So we're going with the top. And so the first player, the fairy characters, they want the dreamer to get it right. So they might say tusks. That might be their clue. And then the next player goes. The imp wants that player to get it wrong. So they might say ivory, trying to maybe throw them off to say something like elephant. And then the trickster wants the number of cards that are right and the number of cards that are wrong to be as even as possible. So they'll kind of flip-flop back and forth. So at the beginning, they might try to get them to say the right thing. So they will say gore for, when a boar gores you. So whatever. So they say something. And then it goes back to the fairy, who again says something else. Like, forest, pig, bacon, I don't know. Finally, the dreamer says something. If they say it right, we put the card in the correct pile, which is off the screen right now. We put it here on the correct pile. And we flip over another card and keep going. If it's wrong, we put it on this card and again keep going. Now, depending on which of these 2 that card goes on to, the roll of the trickster is going to change up a little bit. That's it. You continue doing that, and so let's say they got it right. Boom, you put it there, and we flip another one. Then the next player would continue, and so they might say sun over here, and then over here stellar. And then over here, they want it to be wrong now because the last one was right. So they might say white. Try to throw them off, So, and this continues again until this is guessed. Once that's all done, the 2 minutes are up. Then comes a little bit of recounting the dream. This is sort of a storytelling part of the game in which the dreamer is going to tell their dream. Try to recall their dream. And they can make up a story. So let's say they came up with, these are the ones. It was, let's switch this. It was meatballs and boar were correct, and then eclipse was wrong. They don't know this, by the way. They don't know which ones they get wrong and they get right as they're playing. And so they start telling you their dream. So I was at my mom's house, and she had made meatballs, and the other players, they're still blindfolded at this point. The other players, every time they say a word that is in the good pile, the one they got right, they count it. They're like, okay, yeah, they got that one. So it's my mom, she made meatballs, and I was eating meatballs, and I hear a strange noise behind me, and I turn around, and there's this giant boar standing behind me, and he suddenly opens his mouth and says, "That's my dinner, son." And so I handed him the plate, and suddenly he was about to eat, but it all went dark because there was an eclipse. Obviously, I would not have gotten this. Let's say I said it was a supernova. I would say that, and suddenly a supernova walks through the window and starts just sucking everything up in its gravitational pull. And as I was about to get a bite of the meatball before it flew into the supernova, I woke up. Okay, great. Not a great dream, but that's what it was. And so then they can take off the blindfold, and we check if they got all the ones that were right guesses, if they mention those. Now, if they say any other ones that are on the wrong pile, or they say anything else, doesn't matter, it's these. If they get these right, they set them all, they get a point for that. And then we score for real skis everybody else. So 1 bonus point if you recount your dream, including everything that was correct. Everyone who is a fairy at that point will get 1 victory point for every correct card that the dreamer said. Cool. Everybody who is an imp gets 1 point for every incorrect card. And the tricksters score slightly differently. The tricksters want these 2 piles to be exactly the same. If they are exactly the same, they score as many cards as there are in 1 pile plus 2 points. I think that's right. I'll check it in just a second. If they are off by 1, by just 1, they score the larger pile. If they are off by 2 or more, they score the smaller pile. So again, you want to be very, very close between the 2 piles here, shifting your strategy from saying good clues to bad clues to keep these 2 things in check. Okay, checking. Yes, that's right. So they score all the cards, if they're exactly the same, all the cards in either pile, which is the same, plus a bonus 2 points. All right, that's it. And then this rotates to the next player. We shuffle up the rolls again. We deal them out again. And we continue playing. We wipe away all the cards that were used. Start again, give them their 2 minutes, and continue playing. And again, after a certain number of rounds, game is over, and whoever has the most points is the winner of the whole thing. That's it. And the game comes with a decent amount of these cards here with very interesting illustrations. So I'm just giving you a quick glance at those, but that's basically it. So let's go back up top, and let me give you some final thoughts about When I Dream. There's a lot to like here in When I Dream. It's a game that I find driven by the players largely, meaning the players are going to bring their own flavor, their own vibe to the game, depending on what they're thinking, their word choices, things like that. But it's also very structured. It's a very defined game. Scoring makes sense. It's a specific time length. It's a robust game, mechanically speaking, as well. And I like that combination. The artwork as well in this game is fantastic. It's a spectacular looking game, which is both a positive and a negative for me. Here's what I mean. The game looks great, which means it's more likely to hit the table for me, and that's a big plus. There's also the amount of artwork in this game, the quality of that artwork is great, and it's largely wasted on these big, gorgeous cards that could have been a little card with 2 words on it, right? And it's a little heartbreaking to see this much artwork mean nothing almost. You see what I'm saying? These drawings are great. They combine the 2 words into some really bizarre, trippy drawing, but it doesn't mean anything. It's completely pointless. I'm not sure why that much good artwork went into a game that does not utilize that artwork. But anyway, the other thing is, it does have a fairly limited amount of cards. I know I said it came with a bunch of cards. There's a good amount of cards, but when you consider that every one of these is really just 2 words, and that you're going to go through a decent amount of them per game, then you're pretty soon going to start running to the same words, you know? I wish there were at least twice as many words in here, which would not be that difficult, except for maybe having to come up with that much new artwork. Again, that positive negative thing. Having said all of that, the game's really fun. It caught me by surprise how engaging it was, how punchy, enjoyable. It's a word game kind of, but a party game, and the whole thing is just really, really great. I would very much recommend you check this one out if you're looking for something fresh in that party game, word game category. This one's going to give it to you, and for me, this gets a seal of excellence. Very much recommend it. Look into it, folks. When I Dream.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.